Hey, what's up, y'all? Dan back at you with another video, and today we're going to discuss Lumina. Lumina is a weapon that you've seen pop up everywhere recently with the return of King's Fall, particularly low man content. Now, you've probably noticed that our recent 2-man Oryx required me to use Lumina for the first time since its initial release way back in Season of Opulence, when Menagerie and Crown of Sorrow came out. Since completing that 2-man Oryx, I've since fell in love with the weapon and I've used it for the majority of my raids and my raid helps on my Twitch channel, including all of my master raid since then. Today we're going to walk through how to master the weapon, a lot of the niche ways to use it that I've learned, and why you should be using Lumina as well. Now let's walk through the basis of the weapon. Lumina is an exotic 140 RPM hand cannon that has the perk Noble Rounds. Noble Rounds is a perk that when hip fired at an ally grants 11 seconds of the perk Blessing of the Sky. This perk grants 35% damage buff to you and your nearby allies while also healing you both. For every kill with the weapon grants 1 Noble Round that spawns off the dead body. When you get near the orb, it aggressively tracks towards you and grants you 1 Noble Round stack that can be used at a later time. This stacks up to 5 times the store for use whenever you are ready to hip fire the weapon. For every orb you collect, the weapon refills 4 shots to the magazine, no matter if you are at max stacks or not. You can constantly get kills and never reload as long as you collect the Noble Rounds. With the Catalyst Resonant Virtue, this perk is doubled, granting you 2 Noble Rounds per kill, thus giving you 8 shots back per kill from your magazine. This allows you to never have to reload until you truly need to or run out of enemies to kill. The neat part regarding this is the recent exotic primary buff back in Witch Queen, where exotic primaries all got a 40% damage buff to red bars and miners. This makes it even easier to shred targets and gain Noble Rounds continually. Exotic primaries have also gotten the additional perk where increased heavy drops from using exotic primaries. So when you get to damage phases, you should have a much better time always having heavy around. So let's walk through the gameplay loop. Let's take Oryx for example. For the first half of the encounter, simply killing enemies as much as possible with Lumina will allow you to never have to reload the weapon and hip firing the weapon towards allies to grant Blessing of the Sky buff. Every time you hip fire a Noble Round, the buff timer is reset. This will allow you to play a support role for your team while also playing aggressively and giving yourself a huge damage buff that's always there. Once the damage phases begins, the simplest thing to do is hip fire the weapon at the ground. What this does is, no matter their radius in the Blessing of Aura, Immortality, you will always grant the Blessing of the Sky buff to all allies near you. Then swap to your heavy weapon and go to town on Oryx. Once the timer is about to run out, just swap back to Lumina, fire it at the ground again using the hip fire mode, and then reapply the damage buff to your allies, swap back to your heavy, and keep the damage going. This cycle will make it to where you and your team is always doing as much damage as you can do. Now I know you're probably thinking, Well of Radiance already gives a damage buff and it's what we always see in damage phases anyway. However, Lumina overrides that damage buff from Well of Radiance. Well of Radiance is a 25% damage buff for 30 seconds, whereas Lumina is a 35% damage buff for 11 seconds. You can also just reapply Lumina over and over. I don't think anyone's going to be upset with having more damage for your damage buff. Use Well of Radiance for the healing and the, say, Lunafaction's buff for the faster reload. Use Lumina in damage phases. Lumina is that hand cannon that someone in your fire team in every race scenario should always run. There is no negative to using it. It's overriding to give you the highest damage buff possible, not including the big Titan wall. It's very consistent. You can still use your best heavy weapons. I, including most of the people in the community, have been sleeping on this weapon, and I do think it's going to be a mainstay and a staple for raid scenarios for the foreseeable future. So if you have an exotic cipher and some materials laying around, you should definitely prioritize getting Lumina on your next trip to the kiosk. Just go grab it. If you don't have the materials, grind up for it. If you need to get some people together to get the materials to get Lumina, I highly suggest you check out our Discord server. Come check out the Twitch stream. We do a lot of raid helps. We'll help you get Lumina if need be. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully it helps you. If you haven't gotten a chance to get Lumina, I suggest you go get it. If you have been using Lumina and I missed anything in regards to this video, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.